Hi, it's Paul Hagan again, one of the MEA lecturers.
And I'm Basil from University of Queensland.
And we want to talk to you about the Mining Research Project, one of those really exciting projects that offer to fourth year students. One of the important things about it, it's a whole of year project that goes over 2 semesters. And over the years, MEA has developed a structure which has changed it so it's a very successful course with regard to outcomes for students. It's based on project management, and so we have a number of milestones that go over the 2 semesters.
The project management aspect of the course is that you're the project manager, not us. We're there to act as supervisors, but our role as supervisors is really only to give you guidance, not to actually manage the project.
And that's a very important aspect. And, in the past, students saw it as being a project which belonged to the supervisors. But let me tell you, project belong you, not us. So if the project goes belly up, you suffer. And so with that sort of knowledge up front, students take on ownership, and that's the important thing. They take on ownership right from the start of the project.
Part of that ownership can be the fact that while you're out on VAC work at 3rd year level, you should be looking to talk with your mining company to see if there are opportunities for you to pick up a project while you're out on site. If that opportunity arises, you should really contact your course coordinator at your university to start to set the groundwork in place as to who might be your supervisor, because each project, even though it might be related to the mine site, so you'll have a mine site supervisor, should also have an academic supervisor that can make the liaison between you and the mine company.
The process that we follow is very much based along the scientific method, and that's around which we build the milestones. So right up front, we ask the students to put together the project's summary.
Project proposal.
Project proposal. And we want students to do that very quickly in the first semester. In fact, you've got to submit it by the end of week 2. Now, the reason why we've done that is in the past, students have procrastinated, and it can last for several weeks, this procrastination, and you can't make that time up. So we really want students to give some detailed thought about what their project will be all about. And importantly, what are the benefits and how they go about it. So they have to develop their draft plan as well. And then once they have that in place, they can work on the next step is in terms of coming up to speed about what's the current state of knowledge with regard to that project, which we call the annotated bibliography, which leads into the literature review, which is basically just finding out what the project is and then reporting on it.
Yeah, to support you in that particular endeavour, each university has an opportunity for you to develop library skills. So there's actually some library training in the aspect of what databases you should be searching to get that background literature knowledge. You can also, of course, contact your supervisor as to probably target areas you should be looking in, and so on. So you make opportunities there to make use of the library facilities. Usually at this stage you will have extra library privileges, being a 4th year, and so you can actually request library loans, journal access and so on, so that you build up your database of background literature on the topic that you choose to work on.
The course is not like the other traditional courses you face during the 4-year program. It's very much project oriented, and around that we don't have formal lectures, but we have what we call workshops where we try and get the students to engage in the learning process. And as Basil said, one of the first ones is to do with library skills, then we move on to how you write up an annotated bibliography, what's it all about, and how you bring it together with regard to your what we call the literature review, which forms part of your project plan. And the project plan has to be completed by going near the end of the first semester. And the importance of that is by the time you finish the first semester, you've got a very good idea what you intend on doing when you start the second semester and when you come back. And quite often now we find the students realise that they haven't got enough time to do the experimental work in the second semester, and they make avail of the time over the mid-year break to do some of the data collection work, to get the equipment, to make phone calls where there might be a long lead time. And with that, the students come back in the first semester, in that second semester, and get straight on with the project. Again, there's no procrastination, which is lost time. So moving from the project planning stage, which is the first semester, through to the second stage, which is the doing stage.
Yeah, part of that doing stage, if you really want to get advanced, is that you should be doing some doing in first semester. So those of you that do have the opportunity to get into some early data analysis or early testing in first semester, you should make that opportunity available to yourselves and make it known to your supervisor the resources that you need to get that advancement if possible. The other aspect is that leading in, as Paul says, in the second semester, then you really do have to start making advancement fairly rapidly.
And it's important that you maintain the link with your supervisor. Your supervisor is not only there to be assessing your work in the end, but it's also look at from the viewpoint as being a client. You're the consultant working out in industry and you're delivering a product to your client. So you've got to have engagement with your clients. If you're not keeping that person up to date and something goes wrong, then we can't help. It's best to be sharing ideas, looking at what's going on and working through possible solutions with your supervisor. And with that, we add some marks associated with consultation with your supervisor. I only need you to make contact every week or so to have that ongoing conversation.
The other thing with first semester is that we actually put the opportunity for you to go to industry seminars. We have specialists come in from outside an industry that talk to you on topics that you would not ordinarily get in your normal course of lectures. These are very specialised people in their, and experts in their field, many of them international experts, and the opportunity there is that you get to sort of search into the topic that they present in a bit more depth, so it's again reinforcing that literature review process that you need to develop throughout the whole research project. Primarily, the literature review does not finish at the end of first semester. You should also be continuing to be up to date with everything until the time you submit your final thesis.
That's an actually important part. With the thesis itself, it's basically the first book that you're going to write, and we have a limit on it, 100 pages, and essentially you'll have about a third to a half of that completed at the end of the first semester in terms of the background to the project and your plan and risk assessment and so on. Just on risk assessment, very important part of the project. Probably you'll underestimate the importance of it, but we emphasise time and time again to think about the things that could go wrong with the project. And inevitably, one or two of you, probably a few more, will come unstuck. You won't have access to the information in the mine site that you thought of. The equipment that you thought might be available to you breaks or isn't available to you. You've got to have a contingency plan. So part of the risk assessment is looking at the things that could go wrong with your project as you've got currently laid out, but also develop a contingency plan for those things on which your project is critically relies on. What if that doesn't happen? What's your backup plan?
Yeah, just a slight follow on from that is that the fact that during this whole process over the entire year, backup, and backup. It's no good getting to the end of the year to write that thesis and tell me that the dog ate my homework. It just doesn't wear. You need to have double backups of anything and everything that you do throughout this whole project.
Computers have been lost, hard disks have been lost, stolen, whatever. So don't rely on just having the one medium because you're collecting a lot of information there. So backing up is very important.
Yeah, and then into the second semester, then the other key component is the fact that you have to give an oral presentation of your project work and your major findings of your thesis. And the key thing there is that you are now the expert, and the expectation is that you will give a very, very professional presentation on and demonstrate to us the innovation that you've developed through the project and also the key outcomes that you've got.
Yeah, this seminar is due in week 9 of the second semester, and we're not just looking at presentation skills. That's all been assessed in earlier courses in the MEA program. What we're looking at here is you've got to summarise and present to the board of academics what the project's all about, what the objective was, what you did, and what you found out. And so it's basically a summary of the project itself. And while we do give some marks for the quality of the presentation, it's basically, this is where we are looking at the quality of the research project itself.
And the final piece of assessment is that you will then produce a professional conference paper to AusIMM standards, the professional society standards, that would be very valid to submit for presentation at any AusIMM conference.
It's actually, the conference paper is actually a good exercise, because with what we call examiner's copy, which is what the draft of the thesis that we mark, the conference paper is a summary of your work. And the benefits to you, the student, is that get you over the hurdle in terms of presenting or putting together your first conference paper. You've done all the hard work in terms of writing it up, doing the experimentation, writing up, doing the analysis. All you have to do with this conference paper is just to summarise that work. And we find time and time again, although it's a hard slog to get there, the students express relief and gratification and say, I'm really glad I did this piece of work, because I've really got a lot out of it in terms of not only the research but also how to express my ideas. This is the pinnacle, and as we call it, the capstone project, one of the capstone projects for the program.
So the final thing is to make sure you jump onto your website, know who your course coordinator is for this particular course, so that you can make contact with them if possible over the break when you're out there on mine site and coming up with some reasonable projects.
In all, good luck. It's a long experience, as we said, it goes over the year, but in the end, it's a worthwhile experience.